Thank you for everybody, to everybody that is able to join us right here in the now, in this present moment on Sunday, and to all of you that might be tuning in later and joining us at any given present moment that you're in. This kind of work, this kind of energy bleeds through time. So time is not a restraint to it. Just like being virtual is not a restraint. While it feels differently, the energy of the work that we're doing and the inner exploration that each of us does is very relevant and is very potent in whatever moment that you're in, wherever you are. So with that, welcome and thank you for joining us. So over the last few months, we've done a chakra series. If you didn't get a chance to join us for that, they're all posted on YouTube. You can go to our YouTube site and find them. And we've done quite a few of them as live feeds on Facebook. And so we did a lot of inner exploration, a lot of that introspection on healing, on alignment, on the importance of feeling, channeling on that spiritual level, the divinity, whatever word that you might use, finding that inside of yourself. And so now we're going to start a new series. And this series is a little bit shorter than the chakra series. But what we're doing now is we're going to step outside of that introspection and start to move outward and explore relationships in relation to our spiritual development. And relationships are essential. The astronomer Maria Mitchell reminded us in some of her writing that the people with whom we encircle ourselves become instrumental in the architecture of our own character. I like the way she says that. In the architecture of our character, an earthly reflection of our soul. After all, it's through relationships, as Van Gogh even said, that we refine ourselves. This is where we, continue to refine ourselves and continue to grow. So our choice of relationships can either reinforce the limiting patterns of thought and feeling that have governed us through our lives, or it can decondition them by helping us learn new patterns of attachment and orientation of being, or we may even dare to strive to break free of all of that altogether into the spirit and find ourselves in the oneness of everything. And so that's what the next few weeks of exploration is going to be. And so this week, we're going to explore friendship. Next week, we'll explore family relationships. And then the following week, September 13th, we'll have Dr. Godal Cabo with us. She's going to explore the form of love, eros, humankind and divinity, those relationships. And then on September 20th, we'll finalize this series by exploring partnership, romantic love, companionship. So today, our focus is going to be on friendship. And so with that, let's open our sacred circle. Let's actually create our sacred circle together and invite in what we need to learn today about friendship. So close your eyes for a moment. Get in touch with your breath. Feel yourself sitting right where you are, or standing, or whatever else you're doing. If you're just listening to this, just pause for a moment from whatever you're doing and center. Center in your breath. Breathe down into your feet. Bring your awareness up through your body, through your crown chakra, through your head, connecting you to all that is, to the oneness, to the source, to divinity. Settle in there and slow your breath. Moving ourselves into that space where we can refine, where we can grow. Opening up and inviting in our guides, our ancestors, our higher power, and a connection to our higher self in a conscious way, so that whatever material we're covering today, whatever we're exploring together through my words, but definitely through me, not from me, that it really hits the aspect of you that you need most right now. And as we breathe deep, centering in that sympathetic nervous system, bring yourself into your body, into your mind, into your spirit. Now bring up this idea of friendship. Breathe friendship. Let it be your focus. And just notice whatever feelings arise. Call your higher self to help guide you on this, but just notice what feelings arise. Think about what friendships are in your life that you value. Do you have friendships that are in turmoil? Do you have friendships that offer you solace? And how has friendship played a role in your life through all your relationships? Open your eyes and come back into this moment. Chinese culture has a gentle way of talking about friendship. Their proverb is that the fifth cup of tea between friends is the best. Tea was made in old China simply by pouring hot water over loose tea leaves in a cup. And the explanation of the proverb is that when friends meet, busy and tense from the outside world, that first cup of tea is drunk very hastily without much grace. So just kind of get it down. The second pouring of the water over those tea leaves requires a longer time for the leaves to steep, and this is better. The third cup requires even more time, and the fourth. But the fifth cup of tea stands for an appreciable length of time in steeping. It's required to gain the strength needed in that fifth cup of tea. And that amount of time, that fifth cup, becomes the symbol of friendship at its best. It's the time when you've sat, you've settled, you've relaxed, your breathing has changed, your mind is relaxed, and you appreciate the space that you're in with your person of great value. There may be a subtle hint at another dimension in the symbol of this fifth cup of tea. Our word, quintessence, means whole or total, and that actually is derived from this fifth essence, or the wholeness that requires time. So I love that proverb. And so as we sit here, let's channel in that fifth cup of tea mentality, that place where we can be together in a treasured space to learn and to grow. Charles Alexander Eastman was a Sioux elder from the 19th century. He's quoted as saying, friendship is good friendship is held to be the severest test of character. It is easy, we think, to be loyal to family and clan. Love between a man and woman is founded on the mating instinct and not free from desire and self-seeking. But to have a friend and to be true under any and all trials is the mark of a deep soul. I like that. I like bringing some of that Native American wisdom in. The Kabbalists teach that one of the only true choices we make in life is our environment. Relate this to friendship. The environment and the friends we surround ourselves with. So that environment and the friends that we surround ourselves with has a tremendous influence on us because everything flows from there. The spiritual core reason for a friendship is that it can and is meant to help us change and grow. So if you put an apple seed, any type of seed, I'm going to use apple seed. If you put an apple seed on the table and just water it for months, naturally, you can water it forever and ever and ever, and it's not going to grow into a tree. All the potential is there in that seed. but it doesn't sprout and it doesn't grow. If you put it in the ground and water it, then it becomes a tree. The potential for greatness is true in that seed always, but only when you surround it with the right environment. It makes all the difference. And the same is true for people, okay? So consider the environment of the people that you have around you. Our family, we can't necessarily choose. We have some chosen family, but our friendships are this environment in which we get to choose the soil that we're going to grow in. The spiritual core reason for friendship is that it can and is meant to help us change and grow from that space. Friends are the people we call our soul reflections. They push us to grow. They support us through this process. And we push them to grow and we support them through this process. Can't overestimate how important good friends are to growing life. And if you're spiritual in nature, if you're seeking higher consciousness, this is an essential thing to look at, the relationships that you have in friendship. It's actually written in the Bible in relation to humanity that it's not good for man to be alone, or woman. We can't achieve our potential nor live a life of fulfillment without great, inspiring friends around us. We're not meant to be alone. We're meant to lean on each other. And there is that peace with friendship that is beyond, it's a commitment that's beyond obligation, right? Our families, we have obligation with. Most of our relationships in our lives that aren't friendships have some sort of obligation. People we work with, people we're related to. But our friendships, we choose what that obligation looks like. It's not naturally there. So it's this piece that has a lot of treasure to it in that way. And I think we often take that a little too lightly. And today's a day to kind of tap into that. So several studies have even shown that friendship itself is really good for our health, and not just mentally. So it's not just like, I've got to get through this, I need support. It's actually physically good for us as well. It reduces our level of stress. It contributes to better overall health. There are, I think it was a Harvard study I read that talks about reducing pain levels. People that have strong friendships actually have a lower pain level in suffering or at times in their lives when they have rich relationships to lean into. It shows that stronger hearts, prolonged lives. There was another study that was very interesting that friendship itself lengthens life twice as much. The benefit of it is twice as much as exercise. Like, that was just kind of a weird fact to absorb, that I'm like, okay, exercise prolongs our lives. It helps our health. And friendship actually has that same effect, double. So this idea that it is healthy mind, body, and spirit. It helps our mental acuity. It helps the way we process things. It pushes us to grow. It helps us through traumas. You know, all of these things are kind of like the aha, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? But there's this space that we move into on the spiritual level that doesn't reveal itself so easily. It's a little bit more subtle and mysterious. And I think that as we push into this understanding today, you know, we kind of are going to have a little enlightenment as to how we can bridge our friendships forward into ways that really enhance our spiritual life as well. Yogananda taught that being close to someone is a call to work on ourselves. And so to express love and friendship even more purely through that exploration, this is what divine friendship is. So we're going to look at this friendship idea as divine or soulful, and that it's really one of the most precious things on the earth. So while you can look at your friendships in the world and see a lot of them that feed you well. Can you identify any of them as divine friendship, as friendships that feed your soul, that go beyond the mind and body benefits and actually really pull you forward to become your best self? It's not always comfortable, but it's that friend, it's that relationship that is such a treasure because it challenges you into being your very best self. To have a sacred relationship like that, to be a friend and to share something that's so sacred, like that soulful friendship with another person, you are seeing their soul. You are witnessing them, and you're being seen. And when you have that place where you're seen authentically, genuinely, that place where you don't have to hide anything, you don't have to pretend, it's not about what you should do, it's not about who you're supposed to be, it's not about pleasing anybody. It's the space where you genuinely get to be you and you're fully and unconditionally accepted. And in return, you give that gift to someone else. Not all friendship holds that. It's very sacred friendship. We call it soul friendships, divine friendships. I call it sacred friendship because we create a sacred space, just like we do here, this sacred space to allow spirit to come into us and lift us, to allow ourselves to recognize our own divinity and be led by that more than our ego, more than somebody else's ego, that it's really the soulful sacred place. So these types of relationships are based on devotion, on seeing God or whatever higher power you believe in within creation and wanting to love and serve all of life. And with that thought, put that into this relationship, this sacred friendship. This desire to support and heal, love, and uphold each other is there because God is the seed, divinity is the seed of where you live from. It's at the root of everything you do, and therefore you also make it the root of your relationships. It's to be a friend of the soul at that soul level, to see each other, to meet each other at that soul level. Most relationships in life are not established in this way. Most are based on personal preferences, linking, personality with another one because we have this in common or that in common. It's a very limited way of seeing people because you're seeing somebody for who they are, where they've been, and being witnessed that way. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful way to be together. But the piece that makes it sacred is when we actually stretch ourselves a little bit and recognize who somebody is meant to be, what their highest self can be. And when we see that potential, then part of our being rooted in divinity and part of our intentional sacred relationship is to hold the space for the person to grow into that potential, to grow into who they're meant to be, to grow into their greatest expression of their divinity. Holding them in that space is allowing them to reach it. And that's really unique. We don't have a lot of that in the world today. We don't have a lot of allowance for becoming. We have, I see who you are, I see where you've been, and we can bond over that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But when we really want to create something sacred, We have to look into rooted in that divinity, rooted into that space of what's to come, what's becoming. The roots are there. We're sprouting, but it's what's the possibility? And to hold that for another person, to recognize that they can grow into it, and to not egoically need to project that, to not need to tell the person what you think that looks like, but to just hold the space for that to happen. It's not an easy space. Growing into ourselves, to have somebody hold that for you, that can be really big, you know. Where are you going to grow to? What's your own divinity? What are you becoming? What is your greatest potential? Do you have people in your life that hold space for you to grow into that, to believe in that for you when you don't believe in it, when you feel like your veil of perception or your shadows are too big, and they can believe in that and allow you to break through into that space even when you don't? That's a very sacred friendship. You must have the desire to create these relationships. You have to set that intention. You have to want that. It's not something you stumble into. It's not something that accidentally happens. It's something very intentional. Again, rooted and born out of your own divinity, your own higher purpose, your own connection to source, and recognizing that this is your opportunity to co-create. The collaborative effort between your higher power and you can be extended to the relationships outside of yourself. It comes naturally to most people to hold that space as parents for children, as children for parents, to close siblings, to people in life. It also can come more naturally or more easily with intention with your partner. And we'll talk about those in the coming weeks. But with friends, it's a different quality. There's a lot more freedom of choice there. And that in and of itself is a gift. So do you want a deeper, pure love that does not exist in the realm of need or at the surface of self, but rather in the realm of blessing? You know, love like that, it seeks to give others the divine love, the creation, the ability to see themselves greater. And it gives you that gift as well. Unfortunately, much of the world, you know, calls intimate relationships that are built on need. And this is the point I'm trying to get to with sacred friendship. There isn't a need. And so if we really want to explore kind of where we get caught up, where we get snagged, where our egos keep us from creating this, we have to explore that idea of need and what it is inside of ourselves, where it is that sometimes our ego can sneak into that higher space and muddy up the waters a little bit. It can get complicated when our needs are not seen and they just kind of take over and go into the autopilot space. So there's nothing intrinsically wrong with needing friendship and needing somebody. But if you're not aware of how those needs are manifesting, this is where, you know, we get snagged up in. It can be an unhealthy relationship, but it can also just be dysfunctional patterns. So dysfunctional patterns can kind of overtake, and that ends up blocking the ability to have a sacred friendship. So, you know, if you're in this stage of development and awareness that's kind of younger on the spiritual path, it comes with restrictions, and we end up restricting ourselves from being able to have these open, sacred relationships because our needs come first, and those needs are being fulfilled in these relationships, and that's not exactly where they belong, because most things that we need inside of our psyche have more to do with us being able to grow into a healthy place and give it to ourselves. And yet we can't do any of it alone, right? We said that in the beginning. We can't, we're social beings. We're supposed to have support and interaction with others. So how is it that I'm supposed to take care of myself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically? You have a certain set of responsibilities to taking care of yourself. And then beyond that, we have a certain amount of enrichment that happens from others. And that enrichment in those sacred relationships is necessary for us to reach our greatest potential, necessary for us to find and live in the blueprint of our higher selves, the best that we have to offer. That can't happen without healthy relationships around us. But the work that needs to be done is ours. Okay, so in a sacred relationship, the desire for healing, both for yourself as well as, others, is met in a different way. It's through a connection to the divine during your times of need, not projecting and distorting things onto other people. It's really recognizing and understanding where your own shortcomings are, where your own needs are, having that clear sight and knowledge of understanding what it is, and then working with your own divine connection to satisfy that, to grow there, to give that to yourself, that self-worth, that self-worthiness, that self-love. And once you've done that, then your relationships can grow in a more sacred way. But for yourself, you need to create that rooting, that foundation that's really strong in yourself, in your own care. If our need of another person is great, okay, we will not be able to see that other person as they are now, because we can't see through what it is that our wish for how they should be will get in the way, because our need is telling us what they should be in order to satisfy us. So our clarity will be limited by our needs and our fears. And similarly, if our need for another is great, we will not be able to be ourselves with another, because we strive always to be who we feel we are needed to be. Do you ever feel that way, where you can tap into somebody, you're figuring out who you need to be for them, or who you need to be in order to have your needs met? And that's part of what muddies those waters. So we need ends up limiting our ability to let others just be themselves, and to let ourselves be who we are as well. So to be a force for healing and blessing others in the form of sacred friendship, it's necessary that we do not need someone to be other than who they are. This requires an awakened awareness, connected to our own divinity, and understanding of our own intentions. So see past those simple friendships into how they can become sacred to help yourself and those people you love. Rather than a meditation today, I'm going to do a reading, and I invite you to do contemplative listening rather than meditating. So contemplate, think through what it is I'm reading and saying in a way that you personalize. So after we talk, usually the process of meditation is somehow bringing it into you. And so in bringing it into you, I am just going to ask you to awaken with intention your entire being down to a cellular level, to feel, hear, touch, taste, the words I'm going to share with you. One of my favorite authors, the Lebanese American poet, painter, philosopher, artist, Khalil Gibran. Similar to Rumi, he was influenced a lot by Sufism, which is the mystical side of Islam. And we're going to read on friendship. I'm going to read. So you take this in, you digest this, okay? And a youth said, "Speak to us of friendship." And he answered, saying, "Your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving." Sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. "And he is your board and your fireside. For you come to him with your hunger and you seek him for peace. When your friend speaks his mind, you fear not the nay in your own mind, nor do you withhold the aye. And when he is silent, your heart ceases not to listen to his heart. For without words in friendship, all thoughts, all desires, all expectations are born and shared with joy that is unacclaimed. When you part from your friend, you grieve not, for that which you love most in him or her or them may be clearer in their absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. For love that seeks aught but the disclosure of its own mystery is not love, but a net cast forth, and only the unprofitable is caught. And let your best be for your friend. If they must know the ebb of your tide, let them know its flood also. For what is your friend that you should seek them with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. For it is his to fill your need, but not your emptiness. For it is his, or hers are there, to fill your need, but not your emptiness. And in the sweetness of friendship, let there be laughter and sharing of pleasures. For in the dew of little things, the heart finds its morning and is refreshed. Let's breathe that in. So I love this. He is your field which you sow with love. Sow with love, freely give love, and reap with thanksgiving, receiving with gratitude. Thanksgiving is a word, especially used in writing at this time. It's more than thanks. It's an overwhelming gratitude. It's that reason we have gatherings to be thankful. It's overflowing gratitude. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. The deepening of the spirit, your spirit, their spirit, divine spirit, rooted in that soulful place. And then I love this last line. For in the dew of little things, the heart finds its morning and is refreshed. We awaken each other. Friendship is about awakening each other from a place without an agenda, from a very pure-hearted space. And it's subtle and it's mysterious in these small things that accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. And they outweigh intensity and heaviness. they accumulate like just exponential treasure. And those are the gifts. Those are the gifts we get to walk away with. That's what we get to take away and be nourished by choice, by choice. So go forward, lift yourself into that space of sacred friendship. I invite you to overcome any of your own blocks, to overcome dysfunctional independence, delusions that we have to do everything by ourselves. Overcome that. That's not what we're here for. I invite you to have no strings attached. Be present with the people that you spend time with. I invite you to see and be seen. Be seen authentically, genuinely, from a space that's rooted in your own divine source. Beautiful moments, as well as in the weak ones. Be seen. Give, receive freely, without expectation. Inviting each other to stretch into our best selves. That's what makes it a sacred act. Stretching into our best selves and allowing people to change and grow, even if it doesn't suit us anymore. But I invite you to try that. Cultivate unconditional concern for others. Care about another's well-being as much as your own, even if you don't know them that well. Recognize they are a reflection, they are a part of you, and care for their well-being just as much as your own. Stretch yourself to extend your circle. Extend your circle outside of your current one, outside of your comfort zone. Go beyond your ego with the intent to shrink marginalizations. Reach out. Create in your circle people that don't look like you, don't believe like you, don't live like you. Open up to that. Create friendship there. There's a huge danger when we keep coming from the my and we see people as other and all we see are the differences. That's one of the biggest problems right now. So grow. I invite you to grow. And it's seek out friendships with people that are that different from you so that you can understand how you are the same. Create intimate spaces. It breaks us away from separation. You know, when we're in formal spaces, there's a whole lot that separates us, but we create intimate spaces. We get to go to that 5th cup of tea and create the space and the time to visit and know each other heart to heart. Gandhi said, with every true friendship, we build more firmly the foundations on which the peace of the whole world rests. So with that thought, bring sacred friendship into your life, transform those that you have, strengthens those that you already experience, and reach out and find new ways of having sacred relationships in the world. So that, like Gandhi said, with every true friendship, we build more firmly the foundations on which the peace of the whole world rests.